Today we're going to talk about 10 things that beginning meditators struggle with and how to fix those. I really love meditating. I think that it is a great tool that I've learned in my mental health journey and in my spiritual journey. It has helped me so much to be able to manage my anxiety and really get control's maybe not the right word, but definitely feeling like the things outside of me don't affect me so negatively anymore. And a lot of that has come from the skills I've learned through meditating. But when I started meditating, it was difficult for me. There were lots of thoughts that were happening, and I didn't want to sit still. I have ADHD, I have anxiety. My very first experience actually with meditating was when I was in fifth grade. I was in a class where they brought in somebody to teach us how to meditate. And that to me, I think turned me off from it for, 20 years because it was just us sitting in chairs staring at a wall. And, when you're 10 years old, you can't quite sit there still and stare at the wall. And while I would love to have had that skill and knowing all of the benefits and things that I've gotten from meditation, I would have loved to have that as a kid. It would have actually, changed my life if I could have focused on it, but it was pretty difficult. And I think no matter what age you start to try meditating, you may face some of these struggles that I have faced and other people have faced. The first one is feeling the need to move. A lot of people hate the idea of sitting still. If you have ADHD, if you're an active person, the idea of just sitting still or lying still can be really difficult. You might notice that when you try to go to sleep at night, you toss and turn if you're having trouble falling asleep. So I want you to know it is absolutely natural to feel restless, especially if you're in the middle of your day and there's things going on in your life, and if you're trying to meditate as sort of a response to some stimulation in your environment, then yes, sitting still is going to be very difficult and it's not going to come easy. So what I would recommend is you take a moment to try and get as comfortable as possible when you start your meditation. So if that means that you need a pillow, if you want to be sitting in a really comfortable chair, if you want to lay on the couch or on your bed or on the floor, take a few minutes at the beginning of your practice and just find a way to be comfortable. And don't be afraid to move when you're meditating. If you're like, oh my God, my foot itches, but I'm meditating, I can't scratch my foot. Scratch your foot. It is okay. Eventually, as you get deeper into meditation and doing more practice with it, you will get used to, oh, there's a feeling there, and you'll acknowledge the feeling and you can kind of just let it pass. But there are still times when I'm like, oh my God, I have to scratch something. And so, I do. But I would say to get started, it's okay to get that urge to move. And I think what you're going to notice the most is the longer that you either put off the moving and you start to focus on it, that is when it's going to continue to be a challenge. One of the best things that you can do if you find yourself needing to move or just wanting to, or you're feeling stiff, really focus on your breath. If you're feeling anxious, you're feeling like you need to move, focus on the breath going in. Where are you feeling that? Are you feeling it, if you're breathing through your mouth, are you feeling the air come into your mouth? Are you feeling it in your throat? Are you feeling it come in your nose? How are you feeling your breath in your body? And how do you feel it when it releases? The more that you are focused on your breath, the less focused you're going to be on things like, oh, my foot itches. Oh, my back doesn't quite feel right like this. Maybe I could move. I could sit like this. I could sit like that. Focus on your breathing and it will pass. And again, give yourself grace because it's not easy to do this, especially at the beginning. Something about meditation practice, it is just that, practice. As you do it more and more, it becomes easier to do this. One thing that I absolutely love when I meditate, which may be counterintuitive at first to the urge to move because you may feel a bit more restricted, but something I really love, I use a weighted blanket. My best meditations happen when I am neck deep with my weighted blanket completely covering me. I just feel the comfort of the weight on me. It holds me in place. And it's nice and cozy, but not too cozy in a, oh, I'm gonna fall asleep kind of way. I would say this second one is probably the most frequent thing that I hear from people is thinking that you need to be able to clear your mind entirely and not being able to. Meditation is not about clearing your mind of all of your thoughts. So if you find that you're closing your eyes, you're breathing, you're like, okay, cool, I'm staying still, but oh, I'm thinking about this thing. Oh, I have to do this. I need to walk the dog. I need to do the laundry. I've got this thing at work. Oh, that's uncomfortable. Oh, I don't want to think about this. You could be thinking any one of a million things. And then that's how we work. What I find is, again, recognize that you are a beginner and the goal of meditation isn't to have a completely clear mind. Thoughts are going to arise and that is okay. What I would recommend you do, I would invite you to try and observe your thoughts without engaging with them. So rather than saying, oh, I haven't done this thing at work. Oh, what happens if I don't do it? When am I going to do it? And you start to go down that spiral, say, thank you. Acknowledge the thought and return to your breath. That is going to be the most important thing, is always return to focusing on your breath. One of my favorite things that I have learned about meditation is identifying my thoughts. So if I suddenly have a thought pop in my mind and I hear that, I will go, okay, that is a thought. And if I have something that is more emotional for me, I will acknowledge that that is a feeling. And so we have a thought label and a feeling label. And sometimes those thoughts might be a little bit judgy. So you may be thinking, oh, I can't clear my mind. I'm so bad at meditating. That is a moment where you can say, thought, judging, and you acknowledge that and continue on. So all of that to say, it is totally okay if your mind is wandering. That is absolutely natural, and you'll get more and more used to just observing your thoughts and recognizing that they are thoughts or judgments or feelings as you do this. So on the topic of thoughts, one thing that people often say is, I'm having too many thoughts. So rather than trying to clear your mind entirely, if you think that you are having too many thoughts, which some people, that may be, oh, there's thoughts coming all the time, or even just a few and you don't want them there, meditation will not stop the thoughts from coming, but it will help you relate to your thoughts differently. I'd encourage you to explore different visual exercises to picture your thoughts. So when you have a thought, picture that thought as a cloud. Maybe it's a cloud with an image of what the actual thought is. Maybe it's just the words on there, and then see those clouds sort of passing by. Another way to do this would be seeing them as leaves floating by on a river. So if you were staring at a river and a leaf fell down, you would see it there, you'd see it keep flowing. And for example, if you have a thought and then later you have that same thought, you can imagine that same leaf coming by again, or the same cloud in the sky. You may also want to put your thoughts on like a movie screen where you're looking at credits. So credits on a movie, something like that. I've heard Star Wars fans have used it where it's like, oh, my thoughts look like the way that they tell the story in the Star Wars movies. So some people get frustrated with progress and feeling that, oh, I'm not making enough progress, I'm not getting the results that I want out of this. Many beginners think that they are bad at meditation if they don't see immediate results or feel calm right away. That is totally normal. Again, meditation is a practice. And so you'll start to realize what works for you and what doesn't work for you. So I know a lot of people absolutely hate having meditations where they're not guided in a very direct and visual way. So if it's more free form around just following your breath, about, being within your body and feeling, how do I feel inside? How do I feel, like putting your awareness on your feet, for example, and your legs, and really going through a whole body scan. Some people absolutely hate that. And they love the guided meditations that really create a visualization. So you're at a beautiful staircase and you're taking steps down the staircase, and at the bottom of the staircase is a door, and once you open the door it leads you into a beautiful garden, and then you go in and you know what I'm talking about. And so some people absolutely love the more visual appeal kind of things. So try out different types of meditations and see what really resonates for you, because there's so many options out there. And in fact, some people only like having meditations from more masculine voices, or some only want them from feminine voices. And maybe you don't want the music or sound effects, if there's a river flowing in the background and that's going to bother you, or you're feeling like, oh my gosh, I have to go to the bathroom because I'm hearing that water running. These are things that you want to essentially just notice, and then you can make adjustments for your next meditation. So no, you are not bad at meditation. You will absolutely find what works for you. And it's okay to not feel calm right away, to not feel immediate results, depending on what your goal is with meditation. As an early or beginning meditator, I would make the goal to just attend your practice, to try and be present, to notice what you can, and to really have gratitude for taking the time to care about yourself, to take the time to, love yourself and really appreciate what you've done to make progress. Another thing that people often say is, oh, I don't have enough time. I don't have time to meditate. You find yourself in a very busy day, a very busy life, and it can be hard to be like, oh yeah, I need to take all of this time out of my day so that I can just sit there and I'm not being productive, and yada, 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 all of those thoughts come to you. I would urge you to start small, especially because if you try and sit there and do an hour meditation when you are not used to having your eyes closed for that long without being asleep, being still for that long without being asleep, the likelihood that either you're going to fall asleep or you're not going to enjoy yourself is very high. So what I would recommend is start with smaller, shorter meditations. It's okay to do a 5-minute, 3-minute, even 2-minute meditation where you are just present with yourself and focused on your breath. That is going to make the biggest difference, and it's also going to make it so that you can build up time. Over time you'll be practicing this, and maybe today you can sit there for 2 minutes and that feels calm, or that feels doable. And maybe next week you can do 5 minutes, and before you know it you'll be up to longer. But also, don't feel that a longer meditation is necessarily better. Some people love to do 30-minute, hour-long, longer meditations. Some people really love that. And some people like to have shorter ones. You'll see a lot of the meditations that I've put out here are less than 10 minutes. that is because we live in a very busy world where there's so many things that we're doing, and finding 10 minutes out of your day to be uninterrupted, to be fully present, that can be really difficult. So be very kind with yourself. And that applies to every issue that you may face in trying to meditate. Be kind with yourself. Recognize that you're not going to do things perfect the first time, and also that you don't need to do things perfect. So that actually leads me into our next one, which is judging yourself. Some people criticize themselves for having too many thoughts or not doing it right, and that can really create a negative feedback loop. There is no wrong way to meditate, and self-compassion really is the key to this. So, making sure that you are thanking yourself. Thank yourself for taking the time to make an effort toward your mental health. I would encourage you to observe your thoughts and feelings without labeling them as good or bad. And that's where the thinking, feeling, judging can come in. Even if you are judging, that doesn't necessarily mean that it is bad, and you don't need to shame yourself for the thoughts that you have. Your thoughts are going to come and go, and I would like to remind you that you have thoughts, but you are not your thoughts. So again, the goal isn't to empty your mind or completely shut off your thoughts, but to be aware of what is happening without judgment. And even if you find, okay, every thought you're having, you're labeling that as judging, that is okay. And in fact, it's good that you are recognizing that. The more that you start to label these thoughts, the easier it gets for you to be able to recognize them, to let them pass without getting, carried away into the rabbit hole or getting sucked into the cloud that is your thought. Some people have unrealistic expectations when it comes to meditation. Many new meditators expect instant calm or to have profound experiences, and this can often lead to disappointment if you don't get immediate results. Meditation is a gradual process, and it's often subtle in its effects. When I started meditating, and once it started to really make an impact for me, I actually didn't realize how much I was doing it and how it was making a difference. But I also wasn't expecting it to make a difference right from the beginning. My long form, I would say 30 to 45 minute meditation practice really started when I was undergoing a treatment for depression, which required me to sit still in a chair while there was a contraption on my head and I essentially couldn't move. So for me, I ended up spending that time meditating, and I didn't realize how much that was actually helping me until, a few weeks into it, and realized, oh, this is actually really nice, and I was looking forward to my treatments. So you may not feel something right away. You may not even feel calm doing it. You may feel more anxious because you're worried about all these different things, and that is okay. While you may not experience instant calm, meditation helps create long-term benefits like more overall peace, awareness of yourself, your thoughts, and focus. And this can reduce any initial pressure or disappointment. So make sure that your expectation is just to give some time to you, to your body, to your mind. Another problem people often face are the physical sensations. Beginners may notice things like itches or aches or the need to swallow, and it can be kind of confusing, like, what am I supposed to do when these things come up? I would say notice the sensations, like those itches, like the need to swallow, but rather than reacting immediately, try and observe how long the sensation lasts or how it changes. If you're focused on the spot on your foot where it's itching, you can focus on that particular sensation. What does it feel like to you? Is it familiar in any way? Is the spot on your other foot itching in the same way? And then come back to your breath. If you bring your focus back to how you are breathing and focusing on the air going in and going out, often those itches, those urges, those will release. And if it's too distracting, you can absolutely tend to it and then bring your focus back to your breath or the point of focus of the particular meditation. Nothing bad is going to happen if you suddenly scratch your arm while you're meditating. It is entirely okay. It's not like you suddenly get taken out of the zone or you have to start over from the beginning. It's absolutely not like that. You are a human trying to attend to your life, trying to care for yourself. So just have some compassion for yourself, and if you can try and let things pass, do that. If you need to attend to them, do that. Both are okay. Similar to the difficulty staying still, you might feel some discomfort in your posture. Finding the right posture is key, but beginners often struggle with physical discomfort while sitting, which can then distract you from your meditation. So, like I mentioned earlier, I would recommend finding a comfortable position at the beginning while you can either be seated or lying down. I recommend using some props. So, for example, I have a yoga bolster that I usually prop up against 2 blocks so that it's on a diagonal angle. So I'm sitting against that, and then I'm covered with my weighted blanket. But I like to do things a little extra. You may want a pillow or a chair or a blanket or just something to support you. I would not recommend using like a swivelly desk chair or something that's going to squeak, or a rocking chair or something like that. Make sure that it's going to be something sturdy that can support you. Often in your meditation, you'll also be focused on the surface that is supporting you. But absolutely, comfort is going to be more important than a perfect posture. Some meditations will recommend, only do this lying down or only do this sitting up. But in general, you can do things either way. So just make sure that you are going to be comfortable enough that you can stay in that position for the duration of the meditation without generally feeling discomfort or feeling like you need to move. Something else that often happens are distractions from the environment. Again, we live in a crazy busy world. So, you've got a family who is right outside the room. You have animals and children and notifications from your phone, from your computer, the air conditioner, you have lights. There's 1,000 things that can absolutely interrupt you and distract you from the practice. But I would venture to suggest that you embrace all of the distractions. And if you can, plan for those at the beginning. There's a lot of things you can do prior to your meditation to make sure that you're taking care of what you need to take care of to essentially mitigate the distractions. So if you're needing to take a break at work and you think that people are going to be messaging you, either silence those notifications, put up a message stating that you'll be back in X amount of minutes, and commit to that for sure. Setting that boundary is very important. If your family is going to be bugging you about what is for dinner or something like that, tell them, hey, I need this amount of time, do not disturb. Put a sign on the door, turn your phone off. There are lots of things that you can do to make sure that that will be taken care of. Shutting the door so the dog doesn't come in and bother you. Those kinds of things. Now, as much planning as you can do, that doesn't necessarily mean that there won't be distractions that come up. Distractions are part of the experience sometimes, and being able to stay focused on what you're doing, what you've committed to, and allowing those to occur outside of you without drawing your focus can also be a really good skill to develop within meditation and within mindfulness. So if there's a noise, I would say try and use that as a point of focus rather than fighting it. So, for example, I have a cat fountain that is in this room back here, and my cat absolutely loves that fountain. So it's frequently on. I try and just let the water sound be part of my background. And you'll often hear water in some of my meditations because I have that on in the background. The air conditioner is also right outside of my office, which happens to be where I usually meditate. And sometimes I will hear it kick on, and it's a big, loud thing. I would recommend when you hear a noise or you notice a change in lighting, now mind you, your eyes are mostly going to be closed. If there is a distraction, let that be a reminder to come back to your breath. Something that happens frequently in hypnotherapy is the hypnotherapist will recommend any noise that you hear will take you deeper. And that's absolutely a practice that you can use within meditation as well. You become more relaxed when you hear those distractions, which I know sounds very counterintuitive and it is difficult to do at first, but the more that you practice it, the better. And again, recognizing that you will not be perfect at this at the beginning, and that is okay. The most important thing is that you are trying and you're caring for yourself. So if you have any other questions about things that are causing you problems as you start to meditate, drop those in the comments below. I'd love to address those. But remember, give yourself compassion and be grateful for what you are doing to better yourself and better your mental health. Namaste.